Hello, everyone. My name is Shane Olson, and today we're going to be continuing working on this turtle by the amazing concept artist Shafi Ahi. So I welcome you. Welcome, welcome. This is Nomad Sculpt. It's an app on the iPad. And the reason I like Nomad Sculpt a lot is because you can render while you sculpt, and it's super fun. Let me know if you're watching from what platform. I have chat. This is kind of a new layout I have going, but I have chat like right here so you can see from the other platforms. Hey, Neil, is Twitch working then? Hope so. Twitch wasn't working last week. It was just a black screen. So, hey, what's up, Ian? Hello, hello. All right. Looks like chat is working well, so that's good. Okay, now I want to try starting my music, and hopefully you guys can't hear it. Can you guys hear that? You can. Were you guys able to hear that? Gosh dang it. Okay, well, I got to get that figured out. Yeah, I had to pause it to turn it off. I didn't want to get copyright. Okay. I don't know what song that was. Like Phil Collins or something. Oh, funny. Anyway, hello everyone. Welcome, welcome. I'm doing well, thank you. I'm going to put this chat more in front of my face so I can see you all. Okay. Anyway, this is a turtle I was working on last week. We were working on some of the pieces and parts, the little flowers. We didn't get too far because I was trying to get the stream up and going. Hello, hello. All right. So let's finish off this little flower up here. That's what we were working on last week. Yeah, and how I like to do that is just there's a brush called an insert multi-mesh brush. It's just called an insert brush. You can click on insert and then click on sphere. See all these shapes over on the left-hand side. And there are more if you slide it. With this sphere, you can just select that. And then I want to make sure that this center of the flower is activated, and then just click and drag. Okay. And now we have a sphere. And it is hey, from LinkedIn. Hello. Hey, what's up, Ethan? Awesome. Glad you guys. I'm glad that chat is working through LinkedIn. That's super cool. Okay, so now that we have this sphere in here, we can switch to the gizmo, and we can use this circle to do a non-uniform scale along the x-axis. Okay, like so. And then you'll see this extra little menu up here, up top. It says validate for the sphere. There's a few different things you can do with the sphere. I'm not going to get into it right now, but we're going to validate it so then we can sculpt on it. And I'm going to click on move. Okay. Can you guys all see the little chat? It's pretty small on the screen. But if you can see when all the different platforms, it's pretty dang cool, I have to say. All right. So I have my move brush, and I'm just going to start to kind of drag this out and shape it like a flower petal. Yeah, very small. I'll have to make it larger for next week. My stealth streaming? I don't know. What does that mean, Dark and Grim? And hello, welcome. Does that mean is the screen black? Is that what you're talking about? Because other people were saying that it was working, so hopefully it's working. Okay, so did I just drop off black screen? I don't know what that means. Hey, Jazzy, I could do that. I might, actually. That's a good idea. Sometimes it acts... Yeah, weird. Twitch is having issues. Okay, if you're over on Twitch, try and reload a couple times to see if it'll show you, because last week when I was watching the replay or watching it back, it was actually working. So I don't know why it's black screen for some people. That's really strange. I don't know if it's because Twitch doesn't like multi-streaming to other platforms. I'm not sure. Since I'm using Restream, I don't know. Yeah, Jazzy, that's a good idea. I think I will do that. So, okay, let's see if we can pull it off here. So I have this pedal. I'm seeing you on Twitch. There's only 1080p option. Oh, you can't lower the quality. Interesting. Okay. All right. Yeah, if one platform's not working for you, you can go. I'm streaming to Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, and YouTube right now. All the things. I'm not doing any vertical streaming, so I could, but I'm still trying to work that out. All right. So if you want to change the pivot of an object, you can do that. You can click on this little pivot button over here. And it's actually really close to where I want it, but I'm just going to move it down to the center of this flower right here. Okay, and then I want to look at the hierarchy. Unlock that. No, Ian, I'm going through Restream. So it's not a lot of bandwidth. It just goes to Restream and then they pump it out to everywhere. Yeah. It's not, yeah. I'm not crazy. Well, I am crazy, but I'm not that crazy. Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do is inside of Nomad, you have these, they're called repeaters. And you can see this is kind of my scene hierarchy. In Maya, it's called an outliner. I can't remember what it's called in Blender, but you can kind of see everything in your scene. This is a scene list, and everything that's kind of this orange color, that is an unvalidated object. So this tube is unvalidated. It means I can go in and I can still edit the points on there. And like this sphere is unvalidated. That's the center of the flower. It doesn't really matter if it's validated or not. The only thing if you validate it, it allows you to sculpt on it. If it's not validated, it gives you some extra options, like you can reduce or increase the density of the object. Okay, so, and I can go through and I can name all these different pieces and parts, so it's not just this huge mess. And I can also put them in a hierarchy if I want to. So I could parent the center of the flower to the stem, and then I could parent the flower petal to the center of the flower. So I could do that, but what I'm really wanting to do is put an array on this petal here. So this is the petal. I'm actually going to rename it petal. Let's go flower petal. Whoops. It's like dash petal. There we go. So we'll try that. And now if you see on the upper right or upper left hand corner of this menu, it says add. If I click on add, you can see that you can add all these primitive objects to the scene. You can add a group, which is just an empty node that you can group stuff underneath. And then there's an add view, which is like different camera views. And then there's these repeaters. And one of those repeaters is an array, but you'll see that there's also a curve, a radial, and a mirror. That's where if you want to mirror objects, it's kind of like mirror modifiers inside of Blender or 3D Studio Max. Those of you who remember 3D Studio Max back in the day, they had like this stack of modifiers that you could add. So I'm going to put this array on here. And then you can see that it's this red kind of repeater here in the list. I'm going to pin this for a second so it doesn't go away. And you can also see it represented in the scene as a like 9 little squares. Okay. Now, what we can do is we got to figure out the radius that we want to spin it around, which is actually I picked the wrong one. So I picked array instead of radius. I want radius. So I'm going to unpin this just so I can see. Now I can change this. So it's kind of a happy accident. what an array is it's actually giving, it's like a repeat. So it's repeating that flower petal back in the distance on X. You can see this is X and it's shooting it back here. So it's giving me a count of 2. But that's not what I want. I don't want an array. I want a radial. So I'm going to click on here and I'm going to switch it to radial. Now we're on radial. Okay. So now we're kind of, they're bunched around each other. So I'm going to change the, where it's, what it's rotating around. So I'm going to actually move this like this. And I'm going to reduce the count on Y and increase the count on Z. So we got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 5 here. Okay. So now that gave me 5, but they're pointed in the wrong direction because I rotated this. So now we can go back into our list and select the actual flower petal itself, and we can rotate that flower petal underneath that array modifier, which is awesome. I keep saying array. It's the radius modifier, but it's actually in Nomad, it's called a repeater. So I should probably use the correct name for it. So these petals are instances of each other. So that means what you do to one petal will happen to all the other ones because they're instances. And let's see, that flower, it's looking a bit large. So I can squish these petals down like this. You can see how it's doing it to all of them. I can also grab the paint right here, and then I'm going to just kind of hover my finger and select the yellow. Why isn't it selecting the yellow? Maybe it's not turned on paint. You have to have paint turned on, which it is. Okay. Let's have, this is a beta version, and so I could run into some bugs. But yeah, it's not doing it. Okay, let me see if I can eyedrop it from here. Nope. I'm gonna typically the eyedropper works. I gotta report that it's not working. Anyway, we're gonna just kind of guess our own little yellow color. We'll get it close here. Okay. There we go. And then we can just I want to turn on roughness, and we can reduce the roughness so it's not so shiny. And then I'll hit paint all. Yeah, you'll see again, this is the beta, so it might not look like the version you're using if you're using this, but the developer is working on some material preview with alpha, which it's really cool. That's what that is right there. You can't have any layers on the object. There aren't any layers. Are you messing around with beta too, Jazzy? Okay, so I'm gonna make the center an orange color. Let's see, I'm gonna kind of crank it over to orange like that and fill it. There we go, that's fun. Now I'm gonna tilt the whole flower and kind of move it a little bit so it looks a little bit more like the concept. And I want to show you the hierarchy we can set up. So I'm going to pin this, and I'm going to select this sphere. I wish I could move this menu out of the way because I want to validate the sphere. Okay. Can I move this one? I don't think so. Okay. So let's name this one flower center. So we have flower petals, flower center, and looks like I lost my little R on there. Come on. Maybe if I select it with the pencil. There we go. Well, it's wanting to do the whole thing. There we go. Okay, so what we can do is we can put this, so this radial repeater, you can see it's red right here, this one. If I click and hold it with my finger, you can see that I can move it up and down. And this is like a hierarchy. So I can put the flower center or the flower petal underneath the flower center. And now I want to make a child-parent relationship with the flower center to the stem. But I need to select that stem, which is the tube. I think I'm done with the with the actual tube. So, I mean, I can leave it like this, but I think I'm going to validate it. Okay. That way, because I want to make it a little bit smaller. I can also undo that. I want to make it like that, just a little smaller. Aim it a little better. There we go. Okay, let's validate it. Okay, so now with this tube selected, I'm going to name this flower stem so we know what it is. And then I can grab this flower center and put it underneath the flower stem like this. So why do I do that? What's the reasoning? Well, now I can select this flower stem and I can grab the gizmo. And now if I move that stem, the flower goes with it, which is really cool. And now I can select that flower center. And if I move that, the petals go with it. So I can align this up like this. Really easy to do. And then I'll kind of bury that stem in there. So it looks better from the back. Let's kind of move it up like this. Center it. There we go. And that's still the child-parent relationship. All right. Are you guys still with me here? Okay. Just want to make sure that everybody can see what's going on. Okay. So any questions about that, you guys? Yeah, the child parent. I mean, that's been around forever, the whole hierarchy thing. Like in Maya and 3D Studio Max, it's been around forever. So it's really nice to have that work out. And what that means is you could set up essentially an FK hierarchy, like a forward kinematics hierarchy, like in a body. And I will usually either start from the chest or the pelvis, and that will be my root. And then I will parent everything out from there with a character, which is super cool. Okay, so now with these leaves, let's go ahead and you can see these sphere extract. They're called sphere extract. They're all leaves of different leaves. So I can just name this leaf 1, leaf 2, and leaf 3. And I could also parent those to the stem if I want. Okay, so you can see the stem up top here. So if I click and hold this, you can see the yellow line goes up and down, right? So I want it parented to the stem like that and like that. So this is actually the flower pot up top. So I could rename that flower pot. Okay. And then now when I move the flower pot, it'll move everything. It's like a whole little thing. Hey, what's up, Marty? How you doing? Is the screen black for you right now, or can you just hear me? Good to see you, man. Thanks for dropping in. I'm going to scale this flower down just a little bit. Okay. And if I wanted to, I could put a little bit of dirt in the bottom of this flower pot. But I think I'm going to leave it for now and move on. Okay, there's one more leaf that's a little higher. So before I move on, I'm going to clone that leaf, bring it up to here, shrink it down a little bit, like the concept, rotate it, make sure it's kind of stuck into that stem. Oh, it's just the two of you on Twitch? There's 2 people. Oh, I don't know why it's having problems. I don't think I've had problems like that with Twitch before. That's really strange. Okay, so we have the little pot up there. I think that's good. I can lean that flower a lot more forward, I guess. So let's grab the stem itself, and I can lean it forward. There we go. That's fun. Make sure it's not clipping through. Whoops. It's clipping through those leaves. I'm just going to adjust the leaf because I like the direction that it's facing. Hey, what's up, Jerome? Nice to see you. Welcome, welcome. Glad you're able to catch me. Okay. All right. So the next thing I want to do, also, now that I have this whole thing parented in a hierarchy, I could grab that flower pot, hit my gizmo, and scale the whole thing up and down. So if it's not the right size, or I could rotate it all together as one unit anytime I want. It's really nice. Okay. I think I'm going to tackle this bedroll next. And I got to think about how I want to do it. There's a couple different ways I can do it. But what I think I might try, and it might blow up in my face, but what I want to try is I might try the tube tool and just kind of roll it up in a spiral and make that shape. So we'll see if we can get that to work. It might be too crazy for what the tube tool is designed for, but we're going to try it anyway. Okay, so let's kind of aim it like this. We'll grab this tube. Hey, Caitlin, how are you? Good to see you. Okay, so if you kind of aim the camera like this and you start a tube, but you don't draw it on the surface of an object, then it's going to snap to the background. So if I draw like a whoop like this, that's kind of what it's doing. And there's two ways to do a tube. There's a path and a curve. And I'm just on the curve side of things. So I'm just gonna I need a place to start, right? So I'm gonna just kind of roll this out like this. And because it looks like there's a couple of rolls in there. Oh, it looks like it ends down here. So let's do that one more time. Well, I can just rotate the whole thing so it ends on the correctly. So I'm going to start here. Okay, with the tube is probably the most technical of anything inside of Nomad. It just has the most options, I guess. You have all these options across the top. I talked about it last week if you want to go watch that back later on. But I like the curve when you have not simplistic objects, like more complex objects like this. But it does give you a lot of these little dots, and you'll have to go kind of in here and tune them all. But sometimes you'll get too many dots, and you'll get some close together, like these two at the end. And if you want to get rid of the dots, all you have to do is click on one, drag it towards its neighbor till it turns red, and let go. And now it kind of dissolves into its neighbor. So this one I actually might have a second dot just to have it clean here. Okay, now you'll notice this is a tube, and you're like, how do you get it so it's a long flat shape? And that's where the profile comes in. So thanks, Neil. Hey Neil, I wonder if you could go to Restream and post the links there. I don't know if you can. I wonder. Because then it would propagate out to everything that could take a link. So then you don't have to post it on each platform, you know? Just curious. Okay. So now that we have this tube, we can click on this profile. See this profile right here? I'm trying to point to it, but I'm making a big old curve. Anyway, I'm going to turn on this profile, and what that does is it starts you out with a square. Okay, and you can see this square, but you're like, how do I adjust that square? That's where this profile right here comes in, and it looks like an I-beam, I guess. Okay, and the default is a square like this. So what we can do, and it's kind of interesting because every time I draw a curve like this, it's always turned to the side. I don't know why, but let's see if my prediction is the same. So if I move this down and move this up and move this down to make it long, like wide and skinny, yep, see? that's my premonition to do it like this, but it's turned sideways. So instead, I have to do the opposite. I have to go high like this and low like this, and there we go. There's our wide thing. But now that's I'm to my limit, right? So now what? Well, what's cool is, hey, did you post that? Neil, that worked. That worked. It said it went to Twitch and YouTube, but I don't think it went to the other ones. Okay. But just like in the scene, I can click with my 2 fingers and I can zoom out. Okay. So now I can kind of look at this and drag it high. And I have snapping turned on, so these are snapping to the grid here. Okay, I'm going to try and put it like right there and see if it'll snap to the large grid. Whoops. Need to undo that. See, it's getting too... Okay, I'm going to have to put it like this and then zoom in, because it's wanting to dissolve. Okay. So it's like 1, 2, 3. It doesn't matter. Let's see. Snap this one down here. And like this. And so now we're starting to get wider. Okay. But you can see that it's kind of turned. That's strange. It's turned. I want to try something. You can see how it's kind of bowed, like towards the inside, it's bowed. So what I want to do is add more dots right here and right here. And then I'm gonna bow it towards, let's see if it goes this way. Yeah, okay, perfect. I gotta zoom in so I can see that grid. You can also manipulate the profile out in the scene too, which is cool. But I want these 2 dots right here to not be sharp. I want it to be nice and smooth, like a like a saddle, I guess. So you can see now in the profile, it goes from wide to skinny to wide. But now we're having an issue where one side is wider than the other. So we'll come back to this profile in a minute. I'm going to close it. Okay. And what I want to do is I want to twist it a little bit. So you can see there's this twist. And I'll turn on twist so it'll give us this little pink dot. And then I can grab that dot and I can start to twist it like this. And now that fixes that issue that we were having, right? Okay, now I think our thickness could be a little thicker. It's a little thin. So let's go back to our profile. And what is going on? Oh, I'm on a different tube. Okay, make sure I'm on the right tube. I'm like, where's my profile? Okay, so let's go ahead and go in here. Now, if we were to 3D print this, what we want to do is have our edges thin, but our center thick. So then it could self support. Okay, so I'm going to make this thicker on the outside. That's already looking better. And I could even round off this edge if I wanted to. Like I could, let's zoom way in here. And I'll add why did you do that? Okay. And I'm going to make, I don't know why I don't want it doing that. Okay. It's every time I tap it, it seems like it wants to refocus itself. So I think I won't do that. I was going to add a curved edge to this, but I think I'll do that later on when I'm done here. Okay, so I got it 6 wide. Okay, and in the middle, I want to go wider than that. And it will also, if I go wider in the center, it's going to overlap itself. So then it won't have pockets down inside there. And then when it goes to 3D print, it will kind of give itself some support. right? So if it overlaps itself inside, that's a good way to go. Hey Zofo, how are you? Welcome. Haven't seen you for a while. Well, I haven't streamed for a while. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out to here. 1, 2. Okay. Now both sides are the same thickness. You can also get this cleaner by going up to the tube option up here on the top left. Can you guys see that? This tube option right here. And then you can turn on post subdivisions. So see where it says post subdivisions right here? You can actually add a subdivision or 2 or 3 to make it cleaner. Okay, so if I select on a different object now, we can see what that thing, look how nice and clean, and yeah, it's pretty sweet. Okay, so it needs to be a little shorter, a little longer, I guess tighter. Okay, so let's click on this again, and I'm going to solo it just so we're not seeing the other stuff. And then I kind of want to see if I can, I don't think I can stretch it. So, because there's a point where you want to leave it how it is, and then you can sculpt on it later just with normal sculpt tools. Like I could just non-uniformly scale it longer, or I can sit and dabble with all the controls that I'm already working with right here. But I'm going to try and edit these dots in the scene and see if I can just pull them out, get it to where I want it. This, because that's pretty easy to control that way. And then I can also adjust twist. And I can adjust radius. Radius is this orange dot right here. So I can make it longer that way. And that, of course, I'll have to compensate with the twist right there. I don't know why it's like swinging up like this. I think I'm going to try and pull it down. I know it'll pull down that end, but then I can do twist to get it better. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of weird that it's doing. Just have to adjust it like that. Okay, so now I don't think I can do. See how the center is kind of sticking out on one side right there? I want to turn it from one direction and just kind of bring those. Yeah, it's going to mess with the twist. That's the end one. I just kind of wanted to bring it out. I don't think that's going to work. I think what I'm going to have to do is do that by hand with the mask. Just wondering if you'll be at Lightbox. Hey, Howie. I wish. I was thinking about it really, really hard. I was really close to going this year, and at the end of the day, it just didn't make any sense, or didn't make enough sense to go. But I wish I was, because, you know, it's kind of like a reunion, so to speak, for me. Like Ben Eblin's going to be there from Australia, and I would love to meet him. And then the Proco booth, they wanted me to do a Nomad demo, and I was looking forward to that, but I don't want to go just to do the one thing, you know. So and I probably would have demoed in the ZBrush booth too, but yeah, it's a lot of money to go to just do that. Okay, so now that I have this, I can do a couple things. I can duplicate this. So you can see this tube right here. I'm going to clone it. And if you clone it in the hierarchy list, it will automatically just make it. But if you're on the gizmo and you clone it here, it will not be cloned unless you drag it. Okay? That's two distinct differences between those two ways of cloning. Okay? But now that I have this one, I'm going to validate it because I have a backup, right? So now I have this bedroll thing, and now I have the gizmo. I can do some stuff like roll it. Well, let me hide the other one. Let's hide that one. Okay, do I have, oh, it did clone it. So let me delete this one. I don't need it. And then I want to save this. Okay, all right. And I want to redo the pivot a little bit because it's a little wonky. So I'm going to unlock the pivot and center. I can try and hit center, and then I know that the pivot's in the center of the object. And then I can just kind of rotate it the way I want it to be, unlock or lock it back down, and then rotate this into place. Something like this. Maybe so I can just have that piece hanging off. And then what I can do is go to my move brush, and I only want to move, I don't want to move the whole thing all at once. Like I just want to move that piece, but let's take a look at the wireframe to see what it's given us. And underneath the options of the brush, there is, well, there's silhouette, which kind of pushes all the way through, but I think under fall off is a filter, connected topology, not depth masking, connected topology. I'm trying to remember how to get to, it's like, it's kind of like the topology masking in ZBrush, but mask face group. The fall off, area sampling. Is it position radius? I'm trying to remember. It's a little tricky. Okay, I'm just going to try it. So I think, yeah, that's working. See how it's not, even though my brush is really big, it's not affecting the roll on the inside. That's what I want. So I'm going to pull this down just to give it some interest and make it look like it's coming down in the silhouette behind. Okay, and then I can also switch to smooth for a second, turn it way, whoops, turn the intensity way down. And just kind of smooth that out a little bit. Okay, now the tube cap is not the cleanest. So you can see it's kind of made of triangles and it's kind of a mess. Now, it depends on where you're headed with your model. If you're going to render it or 3D print it, it doesn't matter. If you're going to take it to eventually animate it or something like that, then it matters. You'll want to retop it. Okay, I don't know. It's working with this over here, but the closer I get to the center, it starts to maybe it's the fall off. Normal radius. Let me turn that down and see if it will, or maybe up. Let's try it. Oh, that's affecting everything, so we're really low. I don't know. I'll have to figure that out, but it's not, I don't think that's it. Because what I really want to do is pull this bit out. Just so it gives it, so it doesn't look like it's straight out of here. That's working. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about this stuff? Hey, Quicks. It's been some time since I've seen you. Welcome back. It's going. How's it going, and what have you been up to lately? It's going really well. I have actually, thanks for asking. I've been doing a mentorship recently. That's going really well. If you are interested, Neil, I need to give you a link to that. I'm failing. But if you're interested in the mentorship, it lasts for a year, and we do coaching calls every single Sunday. And I do a one-on-one call with you to start with, to get you in the right direction, faced in the right direction for your goals. And then, hey, what's up, Ernie? And then send you on your way, and you come back every single Sunday, and you can get as much feedback on those days as you want. And we also have a Discord channel, and we talk to each other. We have a sculpt room in there, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. There's some of my mentor students are in here, like Jazzy. Yeah. If you're interested, if you go to 3dcharacterworkshop.com, there should be a link here, and you can go to contact and send me an email. That email comes straight to me and just say, hey, I'm interested in the mentorship. And then we could either have a conversation through Discord, or we can do a Zoom call, and I can talk to you and see if it's a good fit for you. But so I do have to say it costs more than my course, but much, much cheaper than, say, college. Yeah, you won't need a student loan. You shouldn't need a student loan for it. Okay. I'm going to squish this just a little bit. I'm going to make my brush really big. I'm going to squish this down. And you can also turn down the intensity of the move brush. A lot of people don't know that. Oh, thanks, Eric. Eric's one of my mentees. Awesome. Hey, Tutara, how are you? It's been a while, huh? Hey, Dave. Dealing with the devil's random scores? Not necessarily. I still use I use ZBrush all the time. So there's just a few things that Nomad has that I enjoy. And it's not like, as consumers, we win. We're the winners because we can use whatever we want. And competition is always good, right? So what I like about Nomad is the tube tool is really nice. If you were here earlier, you saw me use the tube tool. And then the trim tool is amazing. And it can do a hierarchy, which is great. And it can also render while you sculpt. And that, for me, that's what makes it fun, is being able to see, like, say, different materials while you render, like metals, glass, all that kind of stuff while you're sculpting. So yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of fun for me that way. Okay, I actually did this opposite. I was supposed to pull that down. So I think I need to mirror this. Okay, so this is another, sometimes I love when I do accidents, because then I'm like, well, I thought that was that side and that was that side, so I need to mirror this. And what you can do is you can go into the gizmo like this, and up top, if you go into the gizmo, there is, well, sorry, the symmetry. Sorry, not in the gizmo. In the symmetry right here, this button. Okay, there's mirroring. And there's mirror from left to right, and there's split and mirror. So if I just click on this, let's see, failed to detect symmetry. Hold on a second. I'm not trying to do symmetry. I just want to mirror it. Or flip it. I'm trying to remember how to flip it. Oh, you know what? I can just do, no, I can't. I was going to say I can just do this, but that's not going to work. I haven't used Nomad enough to know all the things. Because I just want to flip it, not mirror it. Okay, well, I'll come back to that. The Jet Show Live. Hey man, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. Okay, let's do paint. And oh yeah, I forgot the eyedropper wasn't working. So I'm just gonna kind of get kind of close to what this is. A little less saturated, a little lighter. Maybe like that. Hey Jet, yeah, I can add a mirror. You're right, and I guess I can just delete the other side, right? Just like add a mirror repeater. Yeah, I can do that. Okay, that's a good idea. Thank you. We'll paint all. Okay, so what Jet was saying is, yeah, I can just delete the other side. Yeah, yep, it's good. Okay, so how that works is I can go into add, and you can see this repeater, and it says mirror right there. I'll add this mirror repeater. And where did it go? Oh, I got solo turned on. There we go. He's got 2 packs now. Okay. So I want the one on the other side. It looks like he's got jetpacks. Hey, Tolk fan, how are you? I got the stream. Do you know anything about the Windows version of Nomad? Yeah, so the web demo, consider the web demo alpha, okay? So you can go, it's just, I think it's nomad.com/demo. Is that right? Yeah, right now this is on iPad, Android, and you can also use it on your phone. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can. And then PC is, he's really trying hard to release it before the end of the year. So hopefully you can get he can get there. Okay, so now that we have this mirrored repeater, it's so now you can see the tube is sitting underneath the mirror repeater, right? And I want the opposite side, but the opposite side is an instance. So this one on his left side is the real one, and the one on the other side is an instance. So how do we make this? How do I capture that other one? Because if I grab this tube and I pull it out of the mirror modifier, you'll see that the other one disappears because it's just an instance. So I'm going to put that back under the mirror. And how we do this is we select the mirror repeater and then we validate it. So you can see it says validate right here. I'm going to validate it. And then it asks you a couple questions. It says, do you want to keep the instances? Do you want to uninstance it? Or do you want to join the children? Now, keep the instances. It would keep it, but the mirror would go away. That means you could move each object independent of each other, and it would still maintain that instant relationship. Uninstance means that each object is going to be its own object now. Okay, and then join children means that they're both going to become one object. They'll still be separate in the scene. You'll see them as separate objects, but in the list, in the hierarchy, it'll be one object. So what I want is uninstance. So I'm going to do that. And now it gives me this group. See this blue group, blue man group inside there. It looks like a little triangle with some spheres on it or some circles. Now each of these objects are separate. So if we look in here, you can see this group called tube 2, and I can pop that open. It's like so now I have 2 objects. I have the one on this side and one on this side. I don't want this one anymore, so I can delete it. Now I can grab this one, and now it's mirrored, and I can grab the gizmo and move it. I want to rotate it like this, spin it, and put it on the other side. Whoops, come on. You can do it. Now it's the shape I want it and the place that I want it. There we go. Now everything is right in the world. Okay, cool. I think I've tried the iPhone version a year or so ago. Definitely challenging to sculpt with chubby little fingers, but I was able to sculpt. So you can, hey, Ginger Bear, what's going on, man? Reload Twitch. If you're over on Twitch and it's black screen, reload it a couple times and it should show up. Yeah, it's having some issues. Good to see you though. I'm also streaming on YouTube if you want to find me over there. If you can't get it to work. 3D Character Workshop. Okay, so there we go. That's what I wanted. All right. How you been? It's been a while. I was just telling these guys unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make it to Lightbox. But are you going to make it? Hello, Shane. Are there any features from ZBrush you wish Nomad had? Of course, there's a lot. So, but if ever that's the case, I'll just export this model over to ZBrush and use the stuff. Some of the things I miss, live booleans, ZModeler, those things. So ZModeler is not in the iPad version of ZBrush yet. It's coming, but live booleans are there and they work really well. So those are the main two things. There's other stuff as well, fiber mesh, nano mesh. It goes on and on and on. There's a lot of utility over there. Frame mesh border. Yeah, I can go on and on. So, oh, look at this. I didn't mean to turn his hand square, his arms square. Okay. All right, let's make this little kind of hobo pouch thing right there. Next, that should go pretty quick. I'm going to, let's save it really quick. There we go. And then grab this turtle shell, go to the insert brush. Yeah, Jet, sorry, man. Not this year. I'll try and make it next year. Okay, so if you select insert, by default, it will select instance. And it will instance the last object you had selected. Okay, so that's why it duplicated this turtle shell as an instance and tried to insert it. Because I didn't select sphere over on the left. So I'm going to select sphere. And now let's do it again. Whoop. There we go. That's better. Okay, so now I'm just going to validate this sphere. I'm done with whatever it wants me to do. I'm going to select the gizmo. You can select the gizmo in a few different places. You can select it over here on this list, or it's the developer calls these tools instead of brushes. They're kind of like tools, and gizmo is a tool. Now this one is interesting, the transform tool. You'll see that instead of a whole gizmo, it just gives me one little green arrow. And what that is, it just makes it so the pivot will snap to the surface of whatever you have, whatever you're dragging it on. So I can grab it and look at this. It's like going around everywhere. And you can tap with your finger. Well, it's trying to rotate, but since it's a sphere, you can't really see it. But anyway, that's a really unique tool that I use occasionally to stick stuff to the surface, like spikes or, you know, whatever, like scales, whatever I want to just stick to the surface. Because what you can do is you can edit your pivot point, get it exactly where you want it on the bottom of your object, or even a little bit inside of it so you can embed your object into the surface. And then you can just use that surface transform to move it around on the surface. And you can make instances of them too if you want. It's really neat. Okay, so this bag is kind of lumped over this this bedroll thing. So I'm just going to use the move brush now. And this Nomad does have a drag brush that kind of works like the snake hook brush and ZBrush. It works a little bit differently. It's kind of a mix between snake hook and elastic, but you can use that as well. It's just another move brush, but I recommend you turning down the intensity quite a bit on it. Okay. And then you can just kind of, it's a little jellyish, I guess. Learning so much in just a half an hour. Awesome, Caitlin. Well, thank you for joining me. Super cool. So now I can come in here with this smallish brush and just kind of push it up underneath there. And there's also an X-ray mode. So I can click on X-ray and it's going to kind of hide everything and give you this X-ray mode. And I can also turn off the image for a moment. Let's change it to just a single color or gradient. Let's see, turn off the image. There we go, right there. All right. So now that's not in the way. And now we can come up underneath here and see through that bedroll so we can drag our object up and around it so it looks like it's sitting on it, and then I can grab the gizmo and just kind of move it down a little more so it's like laying on top of it. Okay, and now, whoops, I mean to grab that. It's really cool that you can anything you want to select in the scene, you can just tap on it with your finger. And especially with this X-ray mode, you can see as you pop through all these pieces, it's really, really quick to select all these objects. On the tube tool, I see a mirror option, but getting the ends to meet up is rough. Closing the tube doesn't seem to be what I want either. Do you have good tech for that? Yes. Thanks for the question, Stolo. You can see that if I turn X-ray off, my tubes are not joined. They're still open and loose, but they are capped, but they're not joined. I believe the developer is working on something right now to join them up. But what you'll do eventually, or what I will do eventually, I guess I could just show you with one of these, right? It's ready to do it right now. So even though there's a gap there, what I'd like to do is kind of overlap it slightly like this. And then in the back, yeah, just make sure it's overlapped and there's not a gap there. So it looks like there's a gap. Let's close that on up. Okay. It's going to look kind of garbagey, but what we can do is validate the curve. So once you do this, you can no longer edit the curve. That's why I kind of leave it open, leave it a gap. It doesn't bug me. I just kind of let it go and sit there. But when I'm ready, I can combine those together. So I'm going to hit validate. Okay, so it's no longer an editable tube. And then if we look at, let's solo it so we can just see it. Okay, so we can see what we're working with. This is the tube, right? And just as before that we did with the mirror modifier, what I want to do is I want to select that mirror modifier. Actually, it looks like it's mirroring a couple different things. So I'm going to pull it out of there. I'm going to raise it up to here so it's by itself and not a child of anything. And then I'm going to add a new mirror modifier. Okay, but now it's mirroring across X, and I want it to mirror across Y. So I'm going to turn on Y and turn off X. You'll get it like this. Oh, it's like not here. Let's turn off solo for just a second. Okay. I need to edit it and fix it before I do this. Let's see. Hey, Vishar, how are you? Good to see you. Okay. Hold on a second. Let me go back into the hierarchy, and I'm going to move this lower shell back underneath this other mirror, because what's happening with it is it's being parented to the body. So the body is affecting the mirror. Okay, let me just get my brain around what's going on here. Because I believe, let me pin this. I believe that, let's see, the mirror, the legs are underneath it. The upper tube, this is the lower tube. This is the new mirror. I'm going to delete this. And what I might try and do is duplicate this and the lower shell. Okay, so I'm going to go, I don't know if it's going to work. Clone this. Okay, clone the mirror, and then I'm going to move this lower shell underneath this mirror. There it goes. Now it stayed. Okay. So I just wanted the way that mirror was set up, I wanted it to be the same. So now if I click on this one, let's unpin this. And now if I validate this mirror, I want to join the children together. Join the children. Now there we go. That looks right. Okay. So now it's overlapped. And we can also check out the face groups. It doesn't look like it has any face groups. Maybe on the caps, and that's okay. But what we can do is we can voxel remesh this together. Okay, so down at the bottom, you'll see it says voxel. And in Blender, this is like remesher. It's called remesh. And in ZBrush, it's called Dynamesh. So, and it's kind of like voxel remesher in 3D Coat. Anyway, if you click on that, it'll pop this up. And what's really cool is you can grab this resolution and crank it up and down. And it'll give you this checkerboard on the surface. And that checkerboard represents the density that it's going to give you. So I kind of want a medium density, something around here. And then I'm just going to click on remesh. And then it's really fast to do it. It looks like it messed with the face groups. But if we look at the wireframe, it actually looks like this now. And at the back, it kind of looks like that. It's a little wonky. I might go a little higher. So I'm going to undo that and then go take it just a little higher. It's better to have more than less. Okay. And it kind of got rid of the face groups back there and it made these smaller. What I want to do is I want to face group the whole thing. So I'm just going to mask this off and then just hit convert to face group. See this convert button right there, convert mask to face group. And face groups are like polygroups in ZBrush. So very similar. And then I'm just going to clear the mask off. Okay, so now we have this purple face group, but we have this geometry that's this voxel remeshed geometry, and I don't necessarily want that. So Nomad has a quad remesher. It's kind of like Z remesher. It's made by the same person. The code is made by the same person, but it's only available on iPad, and it's for an extra cost. But the extra cost is like $10 or something like that. Super duper cheap. So if we go down to quad remesher, I have it installed right here. You'll see these different options. So what I'm going to do is just hit 50%, and it's going to quad remesh this whole thing at half of the density that it is right now. Okay, and I don't have symmetry turned on, so I'm going to undo that and turn symmetry on. I'm going to turn relax off. I'm going to turn face groups off just for a second. Okay, and then I'm going to try and do that one more time. There we go. And I'm going to keep hitting it a couple times until it's as low as I want it to be. Even more. Keep going. Keep going. There we go. Now it's got rid of that pinch in the middle. And we can hit it with smooth, but you want to turn your intensity way down with a slightly larger brush. Okay. And we can just kind of smooth this whole thing out. And it looks nice. We could even go more. Lower. Lower. How low can you go? Okay, so now that we have this, we can turn off our wireframe. Notice it still kept the color that we had before. I can turn off the solo. I think it kept the color. Maybe it didn't. Let me grab this paint. Let's see if it'll grab. Yeah, it did. Okay. So it grabbed this, and I'm just going to fill it up. I think quad remesher destroys the color. So it did bring it a little off of where it was before right there. But what I can do is just grab this, grab, move, and just drag this in so it looks like it did before. Now, a tip for you with this move brush, if you're coming from another program like ZBrush, this move brush is very fast and very kind of elasticy. So I recommend you turn the intensity down on the move brush. Now, the preview that you're seeing right here, I'm using a beta version of Nomad, and the developer's still working on this preview. So ignore that. In your version, it'll look different. It'll look like a kind of a fall off brush. So, okay, I'm gonna actually turn the highlights down on this material. They're a little too. Okay, let me make sure I have the right thing selected. It will preview the material on the object. See, it's super shiny right now, and then it's super matte. I want to go kind of a little less shiny. Hit paint all. There we go. I can select this one, hit paint all, and there we go. Okay, so it's not so shiny anymore. Anyway, that is kind of the the long version of how you combine two tubes together. So you have to mirror it, voxel remesh it, then quad remesh it. So kind of 3 steps in order to get it looking really clean and nice and together. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Off topic, a few months ago, I went to see the Ocean Blue. Nice. Played their first album in full. Not sure. Not sure you listened to them back in the day. I think I did. I'm trying to remember. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to write that down and go check it out. If you have a layer on an object, how do you combine them? Like, how do you merge layers down? It's just the merge button. So if I add a layer to this right here, and I want to collapse this layer down to the base layer, it's just this button right here. Just click on that and it just merges it down. It's kind of like in Photoshop that is collapse layers. It's like merge down. Super helpful. I bought Z Remesher. Super excited to see it added. Thanks for that. Easy recipe to mimic. Love the smooth trick. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, hopefully you can utilize that. Super cool. Okay. Let's turn this back on so we can take a look at this bag and continue editing. I have it too tall, so let's kind of squish it down a little bit more so it's more frumpy. And then you can do the inflate. Inflate is another one that is just super fast in Nomad. So you'll want to take the intensity almost down to nothing, like 3%. Unless the develop, yeah, see it's still inflating really fast, even at 3%. Okay. Now, something with the navigation that I want to talk to you guys about is it in Nomad, it basically looks at the spot between your 2 fingers. And you'll see that when I put my 2 fingers down, it makes a little dot. That is the camera rotation point. Okay. And you can also use 1 finger on your left hand and 1 finger on your right hand to go clear across like this. And you can see that little pink dot. See how it changes based off of where that dot is? I'm just holding down 1 finger and just kind of tapping around. But that is your pivot point for your camera. So if you find that your object is like flinging out into space or something like that, just make sure when you rotate, you're kind of straddling your 2 fingers across your object to get it to rotate. And then once you get that point where you want it, you can remove one of your fingers and then just spin it around that point. You can see that point is still visible on his eye. That's what we're rotating across. Do you know of other artists or studios that started using Nomad or have done some cool stuff with it? Yeah, so I've given a couple workshops on Nomad at a few different studios. One of them being Pixar and the other one being Lego, and there are a few other big studios interested in Nomad. The problem with it right now is it's on an iPad, so the studios can't control what network your iPad is on, and it can be taken out of the studio, like to a coffee shop. And for security purposes, that's a bad thing. So I feel like once Nomad comes to PC and it can be locked down on a network, then it will be able to be used professionally more. But right now it's a little too unsecure, if that makes sense. Oh, thanks for that, Neil. Yep, there you go. Okay, let's continue. I keep getting sidetracked. Let's do this. Let's do the bag with the knots on the top. I'm just going to insert. Let's make sure I'm on this. I'm just going to insert more spheres like this. Validate it. And when I'm not speaking or streaming, this is much quicker. But it's not about the speed, it's about the result, right? Okay, so with this, I'm just going to kind of push this over. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about the PC version, and only because I can take my model to other existing apps like 3D Coat to do some retopology and stuff like that. I'm pretty excited about that. Okay, I just want to clone this, so I'm gonna hit clone, and it doesn't clone it, like I said, until you drag it, and it pops in a new version. And turn off gizmo. All these buttons over here on the left hand side, well, these 4 right here, these are toggles. So what that means is, like for smoothing, you can either toggle it on or toggle it off, but it's also a sticky key. So you can just hold it with your finger and then smooth while you're holding it. And then when you let go, it turns off, which is really nice. So same with masking. I can mask it, let go. Yeah. So it's pretty sweet. And you can just like click it on and click it off too. Okay. Just makes things pretty quick. Okay, so now with this knot, I'm just going to kind of pull it over to this side. I'm just going to try and make it look like it's cloth that's in a knot. I'm not really going to make both of these objects or make a knot, like model it out. You know what I mean? It's just faked. Oops. Yeah, see, sometimes you'll get the dot over here off the scene, and it will still pivot off of that. Carbon, did I say hello? If not, hello. Welcome to the stream. Okay, there's also a brush called Flatten. So if you open this, go to Flatten, there's Planar and there's Flatten. And Flatten does kind of what you think it does. It just starts with the surface and just starts to flatten it. Make sure you got it selected. Just kind of, it's like using a scrape tool with real clay. You can just kind of scrape across that like this. And that way you can start to come in on the side. So I got to point out, well, it's sometimes it's hard for me to talk about without, because I don't want to do a thumbs down on any other software, right? But I'm just going to say, when you insert an object inside of Nomad, it makes a new object automatically. So as I'm coming in here with flatten like this, it's not affecting this one, right? It's just this one. And I don't have to do anything to make it a new object. I'll just say that. Okay. And then I'm just trying to give it some extra little interest. So I'm going to flatten this one across here. And I really like the way in Nomad how you can just touch something and it tells you what you have selected. It's pretty nice. Okay. I'm liking that. But you can also just kind of smooth it out so it's not so much surface undulation. You want to keep things clean. Okay, now I can't tell how many people are watching this today. Usually it tells me. Huh. Where did my... I don't know where my chat just went. There it is. Okay. Okay, so now that we have these little two knot things, I want to make the little ends. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna select one of these guys, go to Insert, select a sphere, just click and drag it out like this, validate it, go to the gizmo, and then just start shaping it. That's kind of rinse and repeat over and over. That's what I do. Scale it along this axis. I mean, there are other things I could do, other tricks, but at the end of the day, it's like, just sculpt it, you know? Hey, what's up, Mark? Hey, Sean. Okay, so let's just get the move. And we'll go a little bit bigger. Now, what's interesting is there's if you're used to using the newer Move Infinite brush in ZBrush, there's an equivalent here. It's called Silhouette, where you can go to the filter and then go to, let's see, Stroke, this first one, and then click on Silhouette. You have a couple options, but this is like the closest direction. That's what it's on by default. And basically what that does is it shoots it to the other side, so I can kind of warp it and shape it like this, and it will go through both sides, which is kind of nice. And then just make sure you turn that off when you're done doing. Otherwise, you're like, you know, wondering why the other side is, or you're working on one side and then you rotate it around, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, that's not what I wanted. And it's most likely because you left it on. It's one of those gotchas. Okay. So there's also this crease brush. There's pinch and there's crease. Crease is like it's like a tight little detail brush like this, which is nice. And again, like, I know that this piece is in a different object group than this piece, so I can drag my brush right down into it without fear of it like grabbing the surface of that other one and messing with it, you know? Okay, I'm turning the radius down. I'm going to turn intensity down. I kind of want to just do a couple of these like that. And then maybe, there's also backface masking on the stroke. If you go to is it filter? Yes, I'm trying to remember. Oh, there's connected topology, but there's also front face vertex only. That's what it's called, like there. So that will, I'll just smooth this out, but that'll make it so it doesn't affect the other side accidentally. And you can also, in these brushes, you can also easily change the fall off. See how this is really pointy? You can just click on this and change it to like a soft. And this is how you would make a cloth brush or something like that. Just select something like this, and now you have a different profile that looks like this instead of that tight pinch. And then you can come in and smooth it out. Now with smoothing, or with any of these intensities on any of these brushes, you can take it to 100 like this. But if it's at 100, you can turn it up to 11. I said this last week. You basically can grab this and just crank it up into the red where it's crazy intensity. So it'll just smooth, like beyond smooth. So it's kind of like fast smooth. Okay. But I'm going to turn that down. That's too much. Bring it on down. Okay. Yeah, Mark, it's super handy. I love it. Okay, so now I kind of want to make this make sense, this knot. So I'm going to move it so it's like coming out from in between these objects. Like this. Okay. And this I like this gizmo quite a bit, but just know that it's opposite of maybe what you're used to, where this big ring on the outside, this is scale all, like scale uniform, and the little dot in the middle is move along plane, the camera plane. So yeah. Okay, so now that I have this, well, let's make it a little thinner. Use brush. I'm just going to kind of nudge it to be thinner. I don't want to add too many undulations. Nigel would love it. Okay, so I'm going to grab the gizmo and again hit clone and just move it, and it goes pop and it makes a new one. Now we can flip this one around and go like this. Well, it's going to go like, and also if you kind of select, see as I hover, it kind of turns yellow on this inner ring. That is rotate along like a trackball, like rotate around trackball. And then this outer small ring is rotate along along the plane, the camera plane. Okay. I'll do this. Let's get it from the direction that it's going to be seen, or the final camera here. So I'm going to turn it like this. And what I can do as well is I can turn this gizmo off. I can make a camera. So if you click this camera, you can say add view right here. Okay, and then I can name this view and just call it main, like this. And now it'll put it into the view list called main. It's right here. You can turn it off and on. And then you can do as many views as you want. You can make a whole bunch of different cameras and kind of pop through all of them. Ginger, oh, it's still black with no sound. Must be for everyone because 0 viewers. Dang it. I'm sorry. It's good to see you. Welcome. All right. Turtle. Yeah, you can kind of see that camera in the scene right there. See it kind of floating around. It will, you have some views down across the bottom. Like if you want to view your lights, view your cameras, you can turn those on and off. Right now the camera is selected. That's why it's highlighted. But I can go to the cameras and just click on this view and it will pop to that view. Then what you can do is you can lock that view if you want to. And how you lock it is there's this little navigation sphere down at the bottom. It could be on the top right for you. I moved mine to the bottom left because I'm right-handed and it's where my thumb is. So I can click and hold that and it'll lock it. Sometimes it takes a few tries, but now it's locked. And it just locks the rotation. It doesn't lock the like the panning or the zooming. It just locks rotation. So, but I can go back to that original view anytime if I want to, just by clicking on that main camera and it zoops right to it. Okay, so now that we're here, let's get that gizmo and select these pieces, and now I want to rotate them to where I want them to be. Okay, can I move it here, down, and like that. Okay, and for this one I want to make sure I got it selected, and then I can boop right to that camera, and then I kind of want to spin it all the way around and up, face it this way. Maybe move it up a little bit. It's trying to rotate it, but it's right on that. There we go. Something like that. Okay, now I can grab this other one and move it in better. Kind of coming out from in between. There you go. Okay, so now I can just kind of pick that color, go to the paintbrush, pick the color, go to this, it's like a pinkish, pale pink. I'm not going to spend too much time on the color. And there's also this select tool. See this select right here? And then I can just kind of lasso all of that and hit paint all. And I can paint those things. And I can also do the hierarchy thing like I showed before. And so then it's like its own little unit that's, you know, hierarchy. It's pretty nice. Okay, what time we got? 1:25. All right, got about 30 minutes left. I'm going to keep working on this bag a little bit more and put these swirly details in there. Okay. I also want to take the pinch brush or the crease brush, change the fall off back to sharp to make it more like a detail brush, and just kind of put in a few of these overlaps. Let me undo that. I'm going to turn on X-ray so I can see exactly what I'm doing. What you been up to, Ginger Bear? It's been a while, man. I think the last time we probably talked before, but I saw you at the last light box. It was cool. There we go. That's looking fun. I'm going to put a couple up the backside for funsies, just to keep it consistent. And then maybe some small ones going into this knot. Maybe 3. Okay. Happy with that. X-ray off. Now I need to move the knot down, and I need to realign this thing a little bit better. So pull this down and then select and pull it all down. There we go. Can you eyedrop colors from the concept as well? Yeah, you can when it's working. It's not really working well right now. But when it is working, it works well. And that just does color. It doesn't do material. It will eyedrop material off of other objects, and it looks like material eyedropping is working, but background eyedropping is not. Really want it to look like it's sagging and hanging on that thing. Got to add more volume in the top here. There we go. More volume around here. Pump up the volume. First time doing a panel this year. Oh, you're doing that panel. I read that. Maybe a demo Sunday, but I'm not sure I have time to prep anything. I'm doing a freelance gig, making 3 characters in ZBrush and Blender. Oh, nice. That's cool. Very cool. Okay, so I want to take a look at this wireframe, and I want to see how it looks like it has. If you look up here, there's kind of an inspector thing. It says what it's named. It says how many polys it has, and then if it has UV maps or not, and if it has a layer on it, that will show up right there. So it has about 6,000 polys. That's not quite enough to do the swirly details in the surface. So I'm going to go into here, go into multi-res. It's already cranked pretty high on the multi-res, but we can do more. So 24,000, 98,000, 393,000. Okay, that should be enough, hypothetically. Okay, but I'm going to add a layer now. And this will be the swirlies. Got a case of the swirlies. We're going to do just a crease. I'm going to try it with a very small brush and just kind of see what happens. All right. And these will actually show up in a 3D print, which is wild. Now, what I'm going to do, undo that, grab that select this, and then solo it so we can get the rest out of there. I'm going just as an attendee on Saturday too, so I want to come say hello. I wish I was going, dude. I'm not going this year, which sucks. I couldn't find a cheap place to stay or anything like that. Okay, yeah, I absolutely love layers in Nomad. I'm not gonna lie, they're freaking sweet, and I can't break them. I've tried, I can't. Okay, so I'm trying to decide if I like that or not. It's pretty decent. It actually looks like it's like a circle and another circle like that. I like the hand drawn feel of it. Standard. I probably could. Let's see. I bet like now the plane tickets would be crazy. Okay, I'm gonna look at just different profiles of this brush. That's pretty sharp. Okay. Um, if you ever need to have the reverse of the brush, like if you want to hold down Alt, typically, um, you would hold down Alt, but on here I don't have a keyboard. I just have my fingers. So, the alternate of a brush is right here typically. So see where it says invert. If I turn that on, then it is pulling it towards me, and now it's a peak instead of a valley. It's kind of hard to tell, but that's what's happening. Looking for group. That's awesome. Hey, Keelan, how's it going? Shane, I've been following you for a long time. You're the best. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, let's just go ahead and get these done. I'm going to turn on color actually and go a little bit darker with this. I love how it shows the preview of the color on the surface of your object while you're adjusting the color. So you can see the original pink and how dark or saturated this is going to be before I let go. And now you can see that it's giving me color and sculpting. So let's just go through and do these circles now. It's probably as good as it's going to get. It's kind of a little difficult. It's got eyes now. It's a little difficult to draw on the iPad like this. I'm using a Sketchboard Pro that I can lean my wrist against. Maybe if I go a little smaller. Yeah, that kind of works. I kind of want it to look hand-drawn and overlapped and funny. Little heads up, your chat on the stream is very small and not. Yeah, I'll make it bigger for next week. Thank you for that. Yeah, I'll show a little bit less tech, maybe down like down there. Down there. Small, like shorter but larger text. Yeah. Sorry about that. This is my second stream on my own channel. So I'm hoping it will get better and better. Thanks. Thanks, Ginger Bear. Yeah, it's amazing, dude. It's amazing. It's fun. Not saying that other programs aren't fun, but this, it just, for some reason, I think it's just because it's being rendered and just some of the tools are so accessible. It's just fun. One right there. There we go. See, when I say it's rendering real time, like it's like Eevee or Marmoset or something like that, like a real time rendering engine, right? So here I'll show you some of the things that I've done with it. Okay, I'm fairly happy with that. What's cool now about this is these layers. These layers are amazing. So if you could pop open this layer, I'm going to name this swirlies. Okay, so now I can go like this and see how they disappear. It's on a layer. It's what you expect. It's kind of like Photoshop or something like this. But some things you get is, you know how this has been subdivided up a lot, right? Well, the layer is not stuck to the current subdivision level. I can actually go down in subdivision levels and still play with the layer and edit it and stuff like that. Now I can go into these three dots right here. Well, I can clone the layer, I can rename it, I can turn it off visibly. I can crank it up and down like this. But underneath these three dots, that's where the real magic happens. So basically what you can do is I can adjust the color. So I can turn the color down so I can just see the sculpt information, or I can turn, well, I can't really adjust the sculpt information on there unless I do the whole layer, but it also has these other channels like roughness, metalness, and opacity. But you'll also see that it says mask. So I can click on this mask and it masks off the color from right here. That blows my mind. And then I can also, from this mask or from this layer, I can do a mask extract, or I can just extract it right from that layer, which is amazing. So I can make all these little rings and actual geometry off the surface, just by doing a mask extract if I wanted to. And then all of this information down here has to do with that mask extraction. So it's pretty cool. Keelan, love your work on Disney Infinity Line. Shane, you working on any new projects at the moment? I'm working on a couple that I can't talk about. But yeah, thanks for the kind words. I appreciate it. I'm a VFX animator. The industry has been draining for me a bit. Yeah. Talk about your salary expectations as a modeler in a studio. Not on this stream, unfortunately, because it's kind of all over the place. It really depends on what level, like if you're a junior, senior, principal, where you're at in the country, where you're at in the world, what studio it is. There's so much involved in that. I want to make the transition, but I don't know if it's common from it. Yeah, they're very similar. So I was an animator for 5 years of my career in games. I need to point out, in games, not film. But if I was a game animator in California versus where I'm from right now, which is Utah, the salary varies quite a bit between the two states. So it really depends on what the project is, where you live. But to answer your question, they're very similar. Okay. Where the salaries really differ is in like programming versus art. Programmers do better. Okay. So I'm going to clear that mask out. You can also like go and adjust the color in there. After you select layers, do some adjustments. Yeah, layers in here are just really crazy cool. Okay. Where are we at? What was I going to do? Layers. Okay. Let's try and do these books really quick. I think those, besides the radio and the butterfly, that's kind of the last bit on his back. So I have to think about how I want to do the books. Maybe a tube. Maybe I'll make a square, like a cube for the paper. And then I'll use the tube brush to make the binding, like the covers. Thanks a lot. I'm living in the UK. There isn't a lot of feature opportunities here at a higher level. It's all VFX or small companies. Yeah. And again, I don't know what salary expectations are in the UK either. I'm sure they differ greatly from the US where I'm at right now. Okay. Let's do those books. So I'm gonna grab the turtle shell again, and we will do the insert brush, but this time, instead of picking a sphere, I'm gonna pick a box. I'm gonna drag that box out on the surface, and it gives me all these little dots. These dots allow me to adjust the proportions of it, so I can grab this top and I can just kind of squish it down to be more book size. Like this. Excuse me, this is overall scale. Then it's just XYZ. And then these middle dots are just like scaling from the center. Each of these dots are scaling from either side. So then when I'm done, I can just hit validate. And if I click on wireframe, this is what the wireframe looks like. It's nothing special. Hey, what's up, Matt? Welcome. Modeling animation at the lowest paid as there's the most available people. That's true. If you do both modeling and animation, your reel is great. Look at rigging. Yeah, rigging. Nobody wants to do it. And it does entail some programming, like some Python stuff. So it's a little more specific. I did rigging for about a year. But yeah, there's a lot less competition and there's a high demand for it. Let's see. So I'm going to go and I'm going to voxel remesh this at a little higher. I'm trying to think here. Hold on a second. I was just thinking I wanted a different silhouette on this, but I think I'll get the silhouette from the book covers. So I'm not too worried about that. Let's just do the tube tool and see what we can do. Now this time I'm going to do a path. I'm going to change my camera to be about right here and then do a path. And I'm just going to go start to finish like this and then drag dots out. This one, like this one. And then drag this past the book itself. And then I'm going to add a couple just to start to make this binding back here. Okay, and this line is in screen space until you hit this little green dot. As soon as you hit the green dot, it works. Then it becomes a tube. I'm turn wireframe off. I don't really care about the wireframe right now. And then it becomes a tube. So I'm going to go to select and select both of these, and then solo. So we're just looking at the book itself. Go back to this tube, and then I want to turn on profile, and then I'm just going to edit it in the viewport. I think that seems to be the quickest. So I can just grab these out. Grab this one. And then there we go. There's our little book. Okay. But I want to edit the shapes to be a little bit cleaner, better. Maybe not have it go so far past the pages. Okay. And I'm also viewing this in smooth shade view. So if I go to this gear and I turn off smooth shading, it's really chunky. It looks like this. And if I turn on the wireframe, you can really see what it's looking like here. Okay. I can add subdivisions. So if I go to this tube, I can do post sub Ds, and that will make it cleaner like this. Now it's not going to be the cleanest on the caps because the caps are made of triangles, but it's clean enough and it will kind of get me to where I want to be. I feel like the cover is a little thick, so I'm going to bring that down. I'm going to bring this down. You'll see it's all kind of nicely editable. And I'm going to make a little, sometimes in books they have those little grooves right in front of the binding. So I'm going to see how, I'm going to add a little bit of detail in here just to see if I can do it. It might choke, but I'm going to try it. So if I tap on one of these dots, it makes it sharp. Okay, so that's, I don't like what's happening on this side, so I don't think I'm going to do that. I might just do it by hand after the fact. But I think I do like it being sharp like this. Just before that turn, maybe not too sharp. But you can bring two dots pretty close together, or three in this case, and it will give you a nice tight border there. There we go. I'm going to move these guys over just to be straighter. I'm happy with that. That worked out pretty fast. Okay. So now that that's done, I can either leave it that way, or I can validate it and sculpt on it if I want to. I'm going to kind of give it a little flair, which is I want to take these pages down like this and these up like this. Make them cartoony, right? If I want to do it from this end, it's a little more difficult because I have to do it in the profile. That's not what I wanted to do. Yeah, I need to add dots to the profile and make them smooth and then kind of bring them in. It's not let me do it. There we go. And it's just going to kind of choke a little bit. Okay, that's not what I wanted, so I'm going to undo that. I'll just have to do that in the sculpt later on. That was so quick to make. I would have been in ZBrush Framers. Yeah, there's, like I said, the tube tool is pretty amazing. Example, if you know how things should move and how they should be in terms of topology, you'd make an amazing blend shape rigger. Yeah, with blend shapes are becoming really big because now game engines are starting to be able to handle blend shapes. And so there has to be people that make those blend shapes and fewer bone-based rigging. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and validate this. Whoops, where did I popped it to the other side. Hey Matt, I found a couple of bugs. You can't eyedrop from the background. Don't let me forget to mention that. This is the current beta, but I haven't run into very many other issues other than your brush intensity slider. It's since he's messing with that previous stuff right now, it kind of doesn't show you what it looks like anymore. Okay. So now you can see the book is hanging out of the bottom here. Now this is where the cool, awesome trim tools come in to play. So I'm going to turn this to the side like this. And then if I turn on X-ray, you can see kind of through the book cover. I'm going to align it just like that, and then I'm going to lock it down. Come on, lock it down. There we go. Because I want to trim this. And how I can do that is I select trim, and I have this lasso turned on, but I'm going to show you this through the polygon tool because it's really fun. So the polygon, the curves are used in several different tools inside of Nomad. The polygon being one of them. Basically, you can draw a line like this, and then if you add another dot, you can see you can start to drag out a polygon shape like this. Okay. And now I can precisely move this up into here. I'm going to do another dot right here. But I want it to stick up past this corner and up past this corner, because when I trim this, it's going to make a new poly group, a new face group, as it were, when I slice this. So when I hit this green dot right here, it trims it. And it also keeps the shape so I can trim it again. I'm going to bring it up on this side and trim it again. Whoops, I don't mean to grab the green dot. Let's drag another dot right there. One right there, and maybe one. I'm going to bring it down a little bit just to kind of swoop it through there. I'll move it up a little bit. Okay. And then I just trim it again. Boom. Now it's trimmed. And then if I want to trim it from the top, I can just swing it around like this. If you want to get rid of that shape, you can. I'll show you just one second. And this is with perspective turned off. If you have perspective turned on, it's not going to give you the results you want. And it will give you a warning. It'll say, hey, trim works best with no perspective. So turn that off. And then if you just select another tool like line and then go back to polygon, it resets. So let's just get a new polygon in here because I kind of want it to swoop from the front. Swoop in like this. Just a little bit so it's not this perfect straight edge. And then we'll trim it like that. You'll notice that it's kind of like a Boolean. It will, well, it's not kind of like, it is a Boolean, where it will Boolean through there, and it'll give you triangles along that edge. So we're going to have to come back in and clean that up later. Hey, what's up, Forget Me? Welcome. Okay, and then from the side, I don't think it'll work as well from the side. I think I have to use the silhouette brush. But okay, I'm pretty happy with this. If we go to face groups, you can see that each side has its own face group, like this. So then what we can do, looks like there's a couple little anomalies along this border edge, which is kind of weak. I don't want that, but that's okay. We'll see what happens. Okay, so now we can go to our quad remesher. And again, just note that this is only in the iPad version. Okay, you can't get this on Android because of their App Store issues. So anyway, we're going to turn off symmetry, turn relax off, turn face groups on. Okay, you want relax off. That's a big one. If you have relax turned on, it's especially with hard surface stuff, it's going to kind of melt it a little bit. So you don't want to do that. Now I'm going to hit 50%, which is going to reduce it by half. And then I'm going to take a look at it. It does still have a handful of anomalies here, but I'm going to see if I can keep reducing it until they're gone. It's so close. Oh, goodness. Okay, it went too far. So sometimes when you, whoops, undo that. I'm going to solo this just so we can see it. Okay, you can see these face groups are giving me troubles here. Just these two and this one on the back. Sometimes you can fix them and sometimes not so much. But typically what I'll try and do is use my move brush and move these to the edge just to straighten them out like this. Let's turn on face group so we can actually see what we're doing here. You can turn on face group underneath this little sunshine icon. Turn on face groups. And this is a mess. Oh, this was, no, it's not set to relax. Just try and straighten these out because it just looks at the edge when it does its thing. Like this one. You want to get it on the angle of the camera so it's just on plane. I'm just going to push it as best as you can. It's the same remesher as in other programs. So again, it's like a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get until you do it. Okay, let's try it again. But this time I'm going to do 100% instead of 50. And just kind of see if it fixes itself a little bit. There it goes. Okay, we still have some crud going on over here. This is the bad version. New Shindu, hello. Welcome, welcome. Okay, this is kind of a mess. Not kind of, it is. I'm just trying to straighten these guys out. I don't know what's going on here. It looks like there's some loose faces giving us grief. Just kind of if you just line them up as close as you can. I think this is the thing giving us the most grief, is this little triangle face right there. Just try and bring it in there. And hopefully when we remesh again, it will fix itself. Close. Close, close, close. Okay, since we don't have poly tools in here yet, you just kind of have to Armstrong it, like muscle it. Just say, fix it. Let's do 50%. Yeah, it's like that one triangle. I think it's way better than it was, but it's still having issues. Okay, I think that's as close as we're going to get. Not too bad. All right, so what we could do too is we could just like remesh it at 10,000 like this, and then go back down from there and see if it starts to fix itself. There's just little tricks you can do to try and get it to work. Okay, almost there, I promise. I want to show you these things in case it happens to you, you know? You're just like, how do I get out of this mess? Made me, because you don't want to start over. There we go. Look at that. That's a clean machine. Now we can do 50%, get it lower. Look at that. Okay, sweet. We're buttery. Okay, so now what we want to do is we can subdivide this. And Nomad has this really cool option. We can turn on perspective, turn off X-ray, turn off solo. Okay, and then next to your little navigator is like this home button or this focus button. The focus will focus on what you're working on. The home button will focus on everything else, or your whole thing. So I'm going to turn off face groups. And see how sharp this book is now? It's way too sharp. So what we want to do, let's turn off, let's go to like a regular brush so we can see it. Okay, maybe I'll solo it just so we can see it. Okay, here we go. See how sharp that thing is? We'll turn on the wireframe, really sharp. But it has face groups, so I guess I'll turn those back on so you can see them. So we have face groups, and if we go to our multi-resolution, there's this new option. It's in beta right now. You might not see it, but it's coming. There's this sharp border right here. There's also linear subdivisions, but we're going to hold down sharp border. This is sharp border for face groups. Okay, so if I hit subdivide now, you'll see that it has a little face group icon above the dot for the multi-resolution. That just means it holds on to that sharp edge for one level of subdivision. Okay, so now if I subdivide it again, it's going to hold on to it again. But for this one, from now on, I'm going to turn it off and watch what happens to that edge. It's going to get looser, looser, and it's like a beveled edge now. Okay, so see how clean? Let's turn off our wireframe. We'll turn off face groups. Look how clean and nice that is. It's not a super sharp edge and it's not a super loose edge. It's just a nice beveled edge. So that's kind of how you can do that. Same thing with this book cover now. Let's take a look at what we got here. Yeah, this one's kind of this is going to be a fun mess. But it's nice with the trim brush. See how the edge is kind of just loose here? I'm going to get rid of the multi-resolution and have a cleaner edge here. Let's solo it so we can look at it. Okay, and we'll turn face groups back on. Now we only have face groups on the ends right here. Okay, and I already know that they're going to cause problems. So I'm going to grab my move brush and just try and move these out, because the quad remesher favors edges like this, not turned edges, but straight edges. So we'll just take a second, push them out, and then we should get a better result. And there's also, if you go into the face group option, there is a way to Facebook by normals. So if I click on this, you can set the angle, and then you just click on normal. And now it's going to give us normals based off of the angle. Anything past, what was it? 24 degrees, it's going to put in a face group. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to try keeping these back edges, and we can smooth them out if they don't quite work, but I feel like they're gonna work pretty well. So we can actually, it's pretty nice already. We don't need to Z-remesh this. There's some triangles up front though that I kind of want to try and get rid of. So that's the biggest thing. So again, going to quad remesher, make sure relax is turned off, face groups turned on, symmetry is turned off for this one. And then I'm going to hit 100%, and then it's going to remesh that, and it's beautiful. Look at that. Looks like we got some issues down on this end. So this side is pretty good. The other side is not so good. Okay, so I'm going to undo that. And I think it's just this, just the angle of it, what it's trying to do. So I'm going to crank it up. I'm going to hit 10,000 and see what we get. That's why, because it's got these weird kind of triangles happening. So I'm going to reduce it, reduce it, reduce it. Okay, that's not working. So I'm going to undo back to where we were. Let's forward one. So we have our poly groups. I think I might trim this back side so it's cleaner, and that'll give us a better result. So I'm going to try and get the camera angle as close as possible. Turn off perspective. Let's do it again. Get it close as possible. And then lock it down. And then we'll get the trim. Now there underneath trim, there's also this lasso and this auto validate. So instead of taking the time to do that polygon and build it out, we're just going to grab from this side and go around and use the straight edge of the lasso to trim it like this. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on this side just so we have an easier time at it. And what that does, unlock this now, is that's going to give us a new poly group on each side, new face group. I say poly group, face group. And then we're good to go. And we could just add these face groups all together if we didn't want a sharp edge along there. But now I'm going to try quad remesher again. And we're going to do 100% and see what it gives us. That's much cleaner. And then just start to go 50%. Ah, man, it's really kind of crashing, isn't it? I think we're just going to stick with this level. That's pretty good, actually. That looks good. Okay, so we're going to start with here. We got a couple weird things going on, but that's okay. I'm going to see what happens if I say 100%, if it gets rid of those. Yeah, not bad, not bad. Okay. So let's just subdivide this again. And I'm going to hold on to the sharp border once, then let go, subdivide it a couple more times, and it's going to give us a nice beveled edge. We can turn off our face groups like this. There we go. And if I unsolo that, we have our book now. And we can take this, and it's a little too long now since I trimmed the edges off. And we'll just shorten that down. And then we can just fill it with the color that we need, and we have our books. There we go. You guys have any questions about that? You can also smooth it down just to kind of get rid of these edges, and we can also turn on smooth shading. That will help a little bit. And so I'll just duplicate this book so they're stacked. But, all right, looks like we're out of time, you guys. But I really appreciate you hanging out with me today. We got some stuff done. He's coming along. I think we still have the hair, the hands to do, all the little rope bits, the radio, the butterfly, and then the little flower that he's looking at, and his little toenails. So I think we're good. Hey, what's up, B-Man? How are you? Good to see you. So, yeah, I think we're on our way. I think the funnest part is going to be doing the tube tool for all those little ropes when we get to that part. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, thanks, Edua. I appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, for hanging out. Just a little side note, if I do have an online course. It's called the 3D Character Workshop. There's over 3,000 people in there now. It's, yeah, which blows my mind every time I mention that. But you can go to, there's a link in the description if you're on YouTube. It's 3dcharacterworkshop.com. And I also do a mentorship if you're interested in really taking your characters to the next level. Just send me an email at, it's if you go to 3dcharacterworkshop.com, there's a contact button. If you click on that, those emails go right to me and I can answer you there and tell you more about the mentorship. It is more expensive than the workshop, of course, by quite a bit, but nothing near as close to the expense of college, let's say. So yeah, I have quite a few people in there, and we do coaching calls every single Sunday, and it's a lot of fun. So if you're interested in that, just send me an email and we can talk about it. So, all right, guys, thank you so much, and have a wonderful week, and we will continue this next Monday. All right, happy sculpting, everyone. Take care. We'll see you next week.